Hey lovely people, welcome back to my channel, and if this is your first time on this channel, you are highly welcome. In today's video I am going to be sharing with you how to sew this lovely maxi gathered dress. This dress has a princess that bustier, it has a slit in the front, it has cold shoulder sleeves and two pockets at the sides. So if you're interested in learning something like this, keep on watching, and please hit that subscribe button if you're not yet subscribed to this family. Like this video, share this video with your friends, drop your comments and suggestions in the comments section, and turn on your post notification bell so that you'll be the first to watch my video when it comes out. And without further ado, let's dive straight into this tutorial. To achieve this design, you'll be needing your princess dart bustier pattern. I already have a different tutorial on my channel where I explained how to draft this pattern, so I'll be leaving a link in the description box so that you can click and watch it. I don't want to add it here so that this video will not be longer than this. So guys, I have used this my pattern to cut out my fabric, and as you can see, I added ½ inch seam allowance around these sides, and for this center front I cut it on fold. I also did the same thing for my lining, and for the side piece I cut two pieces for both the fabric and the lining, and for the back piece I also cut two pieces for the fabric and also for the lining. So I'm going to take these fabrics and I will gum some light interfacing on the fabric, and I'll go ahead and pat the bust area. Like you can see, I have already done that. I used hairstay, the very soft one. I also did the same thing for the back. I just padded the back with soft interfacing to give it stability. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to attach the side piece to the center piece. And in order to do this, I am going to start pinning this. You can decide to not pin it, but I feel like pinning it helps to keep it in place. So I am going to start pinning from the waistline. If you're stitching your bustier, it is very important that you start pinning it or stitching it from the waistline so that you will have a good shape. Okay, so this is me pinning it down at the side, and after pinning it down I also pin the other side down. After pinning, this is what we have. So I'll take this to my sewing machine and I'll stitch it using ½ inch from the waistline to the armhole. I'll also do the same thing on the other side. I also went ahead to pin down my linings in the same manner, and I will also stitch it down with ½ inch. So guys, after stitching, this is what I have. As you can see, it's looking very fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just flip it over to the front so that you see what I have. And as you can see, our bustier effect is already taking shape. So look at it here. As you can see, do you like what you see? Because I like what I see. So what we are going to do is we are going to go ahead and iron this out so that it will look smooth. And in order to do this, what I like to do is I like to pull out this padding that is around the seam allowance area, and I'll just cut it out. This part is optional, you can decide not to do that, but I like to do that. Next, I will notch this, open press it, and this is what I have when I am done. So guys, this is what it looks inside. I have gone ahead to notch it and open press it, and it's looking very neat both on the inside and the outside. Next, I will place my lining onto my main fabric, right sides facing each other. Guys, please don't be like me. Iron your lining, open press it and iron it. Don't be like me. So I will go ahead and make a stitch around the neck area using ½ inch. I also do the same thing on the armhole area and continue down to the side. I'll also do the same thing on this other side like this. I'll also bring my back, and for the back I'm going to place my lining, but for the back I'm only going to stitch the neckline and the zipper area. I will not be stitching the other side. I'll also do the same thing for the other side of the back. I will stitch the neckline and the zipper area, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done stitching it up. So guys, I am done stitching it up. I also went ahead to make my notches, especially around the curved area, so that it will turn out nice and neat when I turn it inside out. I also did the same thing for the back. Okay, I have stitched it. I made a notch at those pointy corners and sharp corners, and this will just help me when I turn it inside out. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to turn this inside out, and this is what it looks like after I am done turning it. If you notice, I ironed it out properly and it's looking very clean and neat on the inside and also on the outside. So now I am going to bring my back, and remember that we did not stitch this other side, so I'm going to open it up like this, and I'll bring my front, right sides facing each other. We are going to join the shoulders and finish up the other armhole. So I am placing my front shoulder onto the back shoulder like this. I am aligning it at the seam point, so you can see that seam line. That is where I'm aligning it, and I'm going to pin it down. Guys, pin it down. Pins are a necessity when it comes to sewing. So I am pinning this down, and after pinning it down, I am going to use the lining to cover it up like this, and I'll go ahead and make a stitch. Okay, I'll stitch it using 1/2 inch. All right, from this point I'll stitch it using 1/2 inch, and I will stop immediately after my front shoulder, okay, around the armhole area, and I will continue stitching. Let me just explain it again. I am going to stitch all the way to this my shoulder point. Immediately after the shoulder, I will leave my needle in, turn the fabric, and I'll keep stitching all around the armhole like this. I hope that is clear, guys. Don't worry, you understand it when I'm done stitching. And I'll also stitch it down to the side using one continuous stitch. After stitching it down, this is what it looks like. Okay, as you can see, I stitched it all the way around using one continuous stitch. You see what I was trying to explain earlier? The stitch just stopped immediately after the shoulder seam of the front, and I continue stitching in such a manner that my stitch does not catch the shoulder of the front. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim out those pointy corners. I will trim out excess allowance around the armhole area, and I'll go ahead and make my notches, okay, so that it will be easy for me to turn this thing inside out and have a clean finish after turning. After turning, guys, this is what I have. What I'm going to do is I'll just go and give it a very good press, and if I lift it up, you can now see that the both armholes are properly finished, and also the shoulder is properly finished. So I'll do the same thing for the other side, and here we have it, guys. I have done the same thing for the other side, and I have gone ahead to iron it down. So you can see the shoulders are very neat inside and outside, and so is the armhole. So the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and take my back dart. I'll just go and sew in my back darts. Now I'm going to introduce the fabric that I'll be using for my cold shoulder sleeves. Right here I have a rectangle that measures around 17.5 inches by 9 inches. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hem the down part of this stuff by folding it in twice, and I'll also hem the sides. Okay, I'll hem this side by folding it in twice, and also I'll hem this side too. I'll only leave this top corner. Okay, so now, guys, this is my dart, I have gone ahead to sew in my dart, and I've also gone ahead to hem in this my rectangle. I hemmed the both of them. So now bringing my measuring tape, I'm going to measure what I have here, and I have about 15.5 inches. So now I'm also going to introduce this tiny piece of material. It's about 1.5 inch. I folded in half an inch. I'm going to be using this as a band or a piping to finish up the top of the sleeve. It measures around 10.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this fabric and I'll try to gather this into this, my small band for piping, and I'll show you what it looks like. So guys, I am sorry I lost the footage where I sewed it in. So basically I gathered it in and I folded the band over, stitched it down at one end, and I also stitched it down at the other end. Just look at it closely, you'll understand what I did. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this inside out. Okay, I'm going to, just like how you add a band to your skirt, turn this inside out, and after turning it inside out, I'm going to use this folded edge like this to conceal the raw edges. Okay, that my seam, I'm going to use this folded edge. Remember the side that we ironed in earlier by 1/2 inch? We'll use it to fold that, conceal that edge, and stitch it down using a top stitch. And guys, this is what it looks like. Can you see how neat and beautiful it is looking? If you notice, I did not start my gathers from the very beginning. I left about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch on both sides. This is what we'll be using to attach the sleeve to the armhole. And so I also did the same thing for the other sleeve, and this is what we have. If you want more gathers, guys, go ahead and increase your rectangle. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to determine where I will place that my cold shoulder sleeve, where I want my cold shoulder to start from, and I'm marking 4 inch from the shoulder line. So I'm also going to go to the back now and I'll mark that same 4 inch from the shoulder line. Guys, you can decide how low you want your your cold shoulder to drop. So I'm also going to mark out the same thing on the other side, 4 inches for the back and also 4 inches for the front. This is where my cold shoulder sleeve is going to sit in. After marking that down, I will bring my sleeve and I will place it on that mark that I made, right sides facing each other. You can even decide to place this before you turn your lining, but you have to be very sure of your measurement. Okay, I even forgot to do that. Maybe I would have placed this sleeve and then used my lining to turn it out to have this very clean and seamless finish. It's still clean like this, so don't get me wrong. So after pinning the front side, the sleeve to the front side, I'm also going to flip it to the back, right sides facing each other, and I'm going to pin it. So after pinning it down, I'll take it to my sewing machine and just make a stitch there. Make sure you make a back stitch to anchor it in place, and this is what it's going to look like. I'll also go ahead and do the same thing on this other side, and I'll show you what it looks like. So guys, this is what it looks like after I am done attaching it. As you can see, it's looking so beautiful. I also did the same thing for the other side, and it is I love it. So guys, the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to try and close the zipper allowance area for the back. I'm going to close this down using a pin. You can close this down using a baste stitch, but let me just pin it down instead of going to the machine and stitching and losing again. So after pinning this down, guys, I am going to place the back onto the front and I will shape. Okay, I'll pin it down first. After pinning it down, I am going to go ahead and actually shape this up using my measurement. So guys, I am done pinning it, and I will use my tape and I'll take my bust measurement. 1/4 of my bust is 9, so I have marked that down there. I think 9.5, yeah, it was 37. And for the waistline, it is waistline of 30 divided by 2, 7.5, and I'll connect this using a straight ruler. So I'll come to this other side and I'll do the same thing. 9 1/4 for the bust measurement and 7.5 for the waist measurement. I'll just mark that down there and I'll use my straight ruler to connect that line together like this. So I'll take it to my sewing machine and I'll stitch it down like this. So after stitching it down, guys, this is what I have, and this is me taking out my pins. So opening this up, guys, this is what it looks like. Okay, can you see how beautiful that is looking? This is what it looks like. So the next thing we are going to do is I'll introduce the fabrics that I'm going to be using for my gathers. So I am going to be using this long piece of fabric to create my gathers. I have about 2 of it. One is for the front and one is for the back. So guys, I'm just going to separate this. Okay, I'll just take one and keep it aside, and the one that is left here is going to be for the front. Remember, we're working with a waist of 30 inches, so 30 divided by 2 is 15. So for the length of this my fabric, I multiplied her waist by 4. So 15 multiplied by 4, you can see that I have 60 inches there, and I have extra 6 inches. 2 inches will be to join it at the sides, and the extra 2 inches will be to join the slit. So I am going to just divide what I have here, this whole fabric. I'm going to divide it into 3 equal halves. Okay, so guys, after cutting it out, this is the 1/3, 1/3 of the front that we just cut out. And the reason why we divided the front is because of the slit. She wants the slit to sit on the right side, so I'm just measuring that out, and I found out I have just ×4 of that measurement plus 2 inches for the side seam and 1 inch for the slit. And I'm also measuring out what I have on the 2/3, the remaining 2/3, and I also found out that it's enough. If you just follow this procedure, you're not going to go wrong. It's going to be enough. It must be enough. So these are the 2 pieces that I'm going to be using for the back. Remember that one that we took aside? I divided it into 2, and if I measure this out, you're going to see that I have more than enough to gather that into the back. And guys, the reason why I just divided this plenty is because there's going to be a pocket, and also because of the slit. Alright guys, so bringing my 2 back pieces, I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and I'm going to run 2 lines of loose stitches. If your machine has a gather stitch, use that, or use the highest and lowest tension on your machine to actually make this stitch so that it will be easy for you to gather it up. So I'm going to just basically run these stitches on all of these pieces and I'll show you. So guys, this is it. I have gone ahead and I ran the loosest stitch on my machine, double on these fabrics, okay, on the top edge of this my pieces. All right, so what I am going to do now is to start gathering it up. So I'm going to pick the 2 top threads and I'll start pulling it slightly. As you can see, it has started forming my gathers. I'll pull it slightly and gently adjust my fabric. Do not exert force or else your thread is going to break. So I'll pull it from this side and I'll also go to the other side and pull it so that I'll have an even spread. So I'll just keep pulling it like this, guys. I have a very detailed tutorial on my channel on how 3 methods that you can use to create gathers on your fabric. Very simple and easy methods you can use. So I'm going to drop a link in the description box below. You can go and watch that out. So guys, I'm just going to keep on creating my gathers for all of these pieces, and after that I'm going to show you what it looks like. So guys, these are the 4 pieces. I am done creating my gathers and I'll bring back my blouse. So this is me measuring this place out and confirming it on my and confirming that my gathers is just enough. Okay, if it's not enough, I'll adjust it either by tightening it up or loosening it up a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin it down at the side. If you notice, or if you remember, I said that there are 2 inches seam allowance for this at the sides. So if you look carefully, you see that I did not begin my gathers from that 2-inch point. I began it after the 2-inch point. So I'm going to go ahead and pin this down. So I'll pin it down till I get to that my bust pan, that area, and you also see that there is 1 inch there. That 1 inch is for my slit. I did not gather it. So this is me just tying my threads. The reason why I'm tying the thread is so that it will not unravel. I know that it will not unravel, but let me tie it to avoid unpleasant surprises. So guys, I know that there is a lot of pieces going on here, but please watch carefully and you will understand. So guys, after tying this up, I'm going to bring the other piece, the smaller piece, now for the front, and I am also going to confirm that this gathers is enough for that front. As you can see, I'm trying to adjust this. I think it's a little bit longer, so I'll also pin it from the side seam. Okay, I'll pin it, leaving out that 2 inches. As you can see, I didn't gather it too. I'll pin it till I get to that my bust pan area, and you can also see that there's 1 inch for my side slits. Guys, I hope this is clear enough for you to understand. Just watch what I'm doing and you understand, please. If you have any questions, drop it in the comment section. So I'm going to pick one of this. This one that I picked is for the back. Okay, and this is me just adjusting my gathers, and I'll start pinning it from the zipper allowance area. I left about 1/4 inch for my zipper allowance, and I'll just keep pinning it to meet towards the side seam. And you also notice that I have 2 inches seam allowance, 2 inches space left there for my seam allowance that I did not gather. So I'll do the same thing for the other side too. Okay, I'll bring the remaining back piece and I'll start pinning it from the zipper allowance area. So I'll just pin it and towards the side, and you also see that I have like 2 inches that I did not gather up, which is for my seam allowance. So guys, after doing that, I'll go ahead and tie up all my threads. So guys, this is what it looks like so far, and I have these pieces that I cut out for my pocket. Yes, so I know that that pockets are supposed to be round or curved, but please, I'm going to use a rectangle pocket. This pocket measures around 10.5 by 7 inches. Okay, so what I'm going, before I stitch this up at the side, what I'm going to do is I'll come to the side seams. Okay, those 2 inches that I left for the side seam, I'm going to pick up my tape and I'll mark out, I think 3 inches. Yes, from there I'll mark out 3 inches. I'll mark that down like this. I also mark it on this other side, 3 inches. All right, and I'll start pinning my pocket from that 3-inch mark. Okay, so I'll pin them down on this side, and I also do the same thing on the other side. I'll pin it down from that 3-inch mark. Okay, but pins are necessary. I mean, some people can do this without a pin, but of course pins will help you in life. So I'm going to just come to this other side and I'll do the same thing. I'll mark down 3 inches from the top and also 3 inches from the top on this side. I feel like I'm talkative today. Okay, and I'll also pin my pockets like I did for the other side. After pinning them down, I'll go ahead and stitch them down by 1/2 inch. And after stitching it by 1/2 inch, I am going to go ahead and close up these side seams. Okay, I will close up these side seams. Okay, in order to close up these side seams, I'm going to align the pockets together. Okay, and pin it down because I don't want it moving around. I don't want anything moving around, so that is why I'm going to pin it down. I'm just going to align it at the top and at the bottom and just pin it down So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start stitching from there all the way around using one straight continuous stitch. I'll stitch it all the way around till I get to this point, and I'll stitch it all the way down. Guys, just follow this carefully. I mean, it is very easy. It is super easy. Okay, after stitching it down, you're going to understand. So guys, this is it. I am done stitching it down. So this is what I have. As you can see, I stitched it from the top. All right, continued to this point into the pocket, and I kept stitching it, and outside the pocket, and I continued and kept stitching it down by my 2 inches till I got to the end to the hem of this our dress. That is the same thing I did for the front, for this other side. If you check it, I did the exact same thing. Okay, I'm just showing you so that you understand what I did. You see, it is really simple, guys. So guys, after stitching this down, I also went ahead to stitching our slit area. Okay, remember that our area for the slit, I stitched that down too. I think I stitched it down up until 21 inches upright. Yes, 21 inches. That is where my slit is going to start from. So guys, the next thing I'm going to do is take this to my sewing machine and stitch this down. After stitching this down, I think I'm going to overlock it. So guys, I am done stitching this down at the sides, and I've also gone ahead to overlock all my raw edges, and as you can see, it is looking very pretty and very clean. So guys, for the slit area, what I'm going to do is I am going to fold this in. Okay, I'm going to fold this in by that 1 inch that we left for the 1 inch that we used to join it. Okay, I'm going to fold that in, and I'll take it to my ironing board, and I'll iron that down. After ironing it down by that 1 inch, I'm going to introduce my hemming gum. I'm going to be using my hemming gum to hem that part down so that I'll have a very clean and seamless finish. If you don't have a hemming gum, or you don't want to use a hemming gum, you can go ahead and fold it in twice or just once. Just stitch it once since it is already overlocked. So guys, after hemming that down, this is what I have. As you can see, it's looking very beautiful and very clean. So guys, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close this at the back. Okay, I'm aligning the waist seams together, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave room. Okay, make sure that your waist seams align so that it will look fine and neat. Okay, so I am going to align it, and I'm going to leave some room for my zip. Okay, if you look, you see that I'm going to start stitching from this point like this. Okay, from this point all the way down. The other open, the side that is open, is for my zipper allowance to sit in. So I am going to do that, and I'll attach my zip, and guys, this is what it looks like. I am done attaching my zip, and this is what it looks like. It is very beautiful. So guys, if you follow this my step carefully, it is really easy to recreate. I'm sorry for all the cut and joins. It's because of the pocket that I wanted to attach. You can actually make your own straightforward. Attach your pockets before creating your gathers, but just make sure that the side seams align when you're creating your gathers, and it is still going to give you the same results. Okay, and this is it guys, how to sew your very own maxi gathered dress with a princess dart bustier, crochet the sleeves, front slit, and pockets at the sides. This is really easy to recreate, you guys. Feel free to add your own flavor, your own touch, your own twist when you're recreating this dress. And this is it guys. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're not yet subscribed. Like this video so that more people can get to see it. Drop your questions and suggestions in the comment section. Share this video with your friends, and turn on your post notification bell so that you'll be the first to watch my videos when it comes out. And until I see you again in my next video, bye guys.